Hola y bienvenidos a este video sobre los números en español. Hello and welcome to this video lesson about Spanish numbers. Today we're going to be learning the numbers 39 to 100 in Spanish. Los retos de esta clase son repasar los números 1 a 39, aprender los números 39 a 100 y repasar cómo hablamos de la edad de las personas. So first of all, we've got the numbers 1 to 10 to revise. Just pause the video and go through these, say the numbers out loud, 1 to 10 in Spanish, and then push play. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too difficult. If you did find that a bit tricky, I recommend you go back and watch my introductory video where we looked at the lower numbers first. There are two videos on numbers before this one. Let's quickly go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we've got our numbers 11 to 19. Again, just pause the video and say these out loud to yourself and then push play. So we've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So there's a pattern after 15, and it's almost like we're saying 10 and 6, 10 and 7, 10 and 8, 10 and 9. 10 y 6, but it all becomes one word. 16. And that brings us on to the 20s. 20 with an I, and then 21, 22, 23, and so on. So again, there's a nice clear pattern that these follow. And just like the teens, it's all built into one word. So it's almost like we're saying 21, 22, but it's just become one word, and that I on 20 becomes an I. And then we're just adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nice and easy. Now the 30s follow a slightly different pattern. We've got 30, and then we have separate words. We're literally saying 30 and 1, 30 and 2. 31, 32, 33, and so on. So the 30s follow a nice pattern, and actually it's this pattern that we're going to need for the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So hopefully the numbers from 1 to 39 you're pretty confident with those. Like I said before, if not, go back and watch the other videos first, and then come back to this one. Okay, so here we have the rest of the numbers up to 99. And as I said just before, the rest of these numbers, they follow the same pattern as the 30s. So 40 is 40, so 41, if it follows the same pattern as the 30s, just pause the video and have a think what you think 41 might be. Okay, so if 40 is 40, then 41 is 41, 40 and 1, 41. That means 42 is going to be 42. 50 is 50, or with a Spanish lisp, 50. So 51 is going to be 51. 60 is 60. 70 is 70. Now these two can be really confusing. It's really easy to get these muddled up because there's just one letter difference. 60 is 60, 70 is 70. 80 is 80, 90 is 90. Now just pause the video and have a think about what all of these tens, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, what they all have in common as words in terms of their spelling and their sounds, and then push play. Okay, so hopefully you've realised they all end in enta. Just like in English they all end in T. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. So in Spanish there are nice clear patterns as well. And maybe you also realise that they have a bit of a link to the numbers 1 to 10. For example, 5, 50, 6, 60, 7, 70, 8, 80, 9, 90. So there are some spelling changes, but we can still see the link between those numbers. So 90, 99 is going to be 99. Okay, so we're just going to go through these really quickly one more time, and then I'm going to get you to practice. So 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80, 80, 90, 90. Now I'd like you to write out the following numbers as words. So we've got 46, 53, 67, 72, 89 and 95. So pause the video. If you've got a pen and paper, then write these out as words, remembering the pattern that they follow. If you don't have a pen and paper, just say them out loud. And when you're ready, just push play again. Okay, let's go through. 46, 46. 53, 53. 67, 67. 72, 72. 89, 89. 95, 95. And there's still one number that we need to learn. 100. So that brings us all the way up to 100. I'm going to leave it there for today. 100, or with a Spanish lisp, 100. Okay, so you might hear some people refer to it as 100, other people 100, just because in Latin America they don't pronounce the C as a th, but in most of Spain they do. So now that we've got the numbers all the way from 1 up to 100, we should be able to describe the ages of most of the people that we know. First, let's just revise how we talk about our own age. So the question people might ask each other is, ¿Cuántos años tienes? How many years do you have? So in English we ask, how old are you? In Spanish, the same as in French and in other languages, the question is, how many years do you have? And the response is, I have so many years. Por ejemplo, for example, if we were the person on this ID badge, edad, meaning age, 39, we'd say, tengo, I have, 39, 39 años, years. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Tengo 39 años. Now, if we're using this to describe other people, instead of saying tienes, you have, and the response tengo, we're going to use a different conjugation of the verb tener, the verb to have. Just like in English, sometimes we use the word have, sometimes it's has. In Spanish, the words are the verbs, they change as well. So we could ask, ¿Cuántos años tiene tú? How old is your, how many years does your such and such, your family member, have? And the response is mi, meaning my, and then a family member, like mi padre, my dad, mi madre, my mum, mi abuelo, my grandfather, mi abuela, my grandmother, mi tío, my uncle, and mi tía, my auntie. Tiene, has, then the number, then años. For example, if someone asks me, ¿Cuántos años tiene tu abuela? How old is your grandmother? I'd respond, mi abuela tiene 80 años. My grandmother is 80 years old. Okay, so while you've got this here on the screen, if you've got a pen and paper, just write down some sentences using those higher numbers, describing the age of your parents, your grandparents, or an auntie or uncle. If you don't have a pen and paper, maybe just say some sentences out loud to see how if you can use those higher numbers in a sentence to describe a family member's age. And then when you're ready, just push play. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video lesson. Muchísimas gracias por ver. Thank you very much for watching. Some next steps you might want to take are to practice repeating or chanting the numbers. Obviously, I don't want you to do 1 all the way up to 100 because that would take forever, but you can chant the tens like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then you can practice also writing out or saying how old different members of your family are. Otra vez, muchísimas gracias por ver y espero que te vaya muy bien con el español.